Hello and welcome to the Syndicated Vomit Podcast, an extension of the Vomit series of podcasts. As always, I'm your host, Mac Taylor, here to talk to you guys about some more Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1, episodes 33 through 36. Second guessed myself on that one, even though I'm looking at my notes right in front of me that to say the episode numbers on them. So today we're actually going to be talking about a two-parter as well, one that I'm very much looking forward to be talking about. Guys, it has been a motherfucking journey, like I've been saying this whole time. We've been watching Power Rangers for a while, and we haven't even finished the first season, and we got a lot of other seasons, you know? I really made a motherfucking commitment after finishing two shows that have 8 episodes a season. I really fucking dove in here. So here we go. We're starting with episode 33, Yolks on You. So they're holding a talent show at Ernie's. Or at least the practice of that show. I think that they at the end, they're actually in the auditorium of the school. But for some reason, they're at Ernie's. It's hard to really tell. They really use those two set pieces. And as Jason and Tommy are walking in, because of course they're doing a karate demonstration, Tommy's like, I forgot our belts. And Jason's like, it's fine, just forget it, which, you would normally do. And he's like, nah, I'll just go get them. It's important, because Tommy needs to fuck off for most of this episode, right? Meanwhile, Finster is making a monster for Rita's birthday. And she makes a fish monster, makes a fish monster named Fang, voiced by Billy West. And Rita is really excited about that when she finds out about it. Then we get a little snippet of Bulk and Skull backstage with some eggs, like they're going to throw eggs at people. And the principal comes back, he's like, what are you doing? And Bulk's like, I'm just checking the acoustics on my guitar. And he's like, what about you, Skull? What are you doing back here? He's like, just checking my cymbals. And he smashes these cymbals together. I don't know why it was so funny. I think it was in the delivery that Jason Narvi delivered it with. He just had this like straight big smile on his face, So Rita's excited about Fang, so she sends Goldar to help him out. Meanwhile, Tommy's like walking with the belts, and he's like all excited. He's like, man, this is going to be so cool. And he spin kicks, leaves off a tree. He's such a spin kick machine that he can't. It's not even just for people. It's for trees and animals and everything. Everyone gets a spin kick. So cut that little snippet. The putties get sent out to Tommy. He whoops some ass. But one takes his communicator, so he chases the putty around. And then they catch Tommy in a net. Like it's a Looney Tunes cartoon. Now, this bit was a little much, right? You already had a reason for him to fuck off for a lot of the episode, but instead you're like, let's just put him in a net. So, I mean, it's a better explanation than him just going and getting the belts and then, showing up later. But, really? He got trapped in a net? I don't know. A little bit of both ways here. Putty also gets his morpher, so he's not going to be able to morph in action and cut the net. I'm not entirely sure what the point of that was either. So Babu and Squat are with Goldar, and they find 2 eggs on the ground, and they eat them. Apparently, they were Fang's Goonie Bird eggs. Not entirely sure what those are, but apparently they're hard to find. So he's pissed, and he's lashing out at the villains. Well, the Power Rangers show up, and they're morphed, and Goldar's like, the Power Rangers have your Goonie Bird eggs. And he's like, oh, okay, and then he goes to fight these Power Rangers to get his eggs. This monster has zero interest in actually just destroying the Power Rangers. All the interest in whoever can get him more Goonie Bird eggs. It's a very strange motivation. So he's fighting the Power Rangers like, I want my eggs! And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? What eggs? And he's a fish monster, but he's tossing rocks. So it's kind of like the rock star, but without the weighing down effect of the rocks. He's just tossing giant rocks at Power Rangers. Still crying over the eggs, like, I want my eggs. And he's literally crying, like there are tears going out of his eyes, which was a decent effect. And Rita's like, I'll get you more eggs. And she takes the broken eggs and forms them back together, and he's like, and then he goes to eat it, and then he re-breaks it, and she's like, you get the Power Rangers, and you'll have all the eggs you want. And he's like, okay. And so she grows him into the big Fang, and he gets like these predator claws, like he gets like the wrist claws going on, which is pretty damn cool. So the Rangers call on the Dinosaurs, get the Megazord, and he's still like, I want my eggs. Give me my eggs. But it's like, wait a minute. You had, like, Rita said she'd give you eggs to beat the Power Rangers. So why would the Power Rangers have eggs to get? It's a little bit weird there. And the whole time Jason's like, I don't know what he's talking about, these damn eggs. A lot of confusion there. But he's feisty. He actually manages to take down the Megazord, and he goes to flood the dam. Meanwhile, Tommy escapes the net. Didn't really show how he did it. We just cut back to him climbing down the net. Beats up the putties. He morphs into action, calls on the Dragon Zord. Dragon Zord gets put in a battle mode. Then they call the Ultra Zord, and they blow up Fang. Very anticlimactic. It's just like, and we're going to show up and do this, and he's done. And just in time, because Jason and Tommy get back literally seconds for they're supposed to go on stage. So they get to do their whole shtick. And we get to end with Bulk and Skull's performance, which is a rock show with Bulk singing or with Skull singing and Bulk playing the guitar. And they have like, oh man, it was beautiful. It was we need more Bulk and Skull, but again, like this version of Bulk and Skull, we're getting less and less of them just being bullies and more of like them just being kind of arrogant. And everyone else just laughing at their misfortune. So we're starting to get in the right direction of where those characters are going, right? And that brings us to episode 34, The Green Candle Part 1. This is a pretty important two-parter in the overall view of Mighty Morphin. So we start out, Tommy and Zach are sparring. Tommy, of course, wins because he's Tommy. But he's nervous to ask him to the dance because we still got to put in like they're teenagers, they do teenager things. But then we cut to the real meat of the story here. Rita has somehow, from this wax she got Tommy to touch when he was under her control, has made a green candle that when it burns out, it will drain Tommy of his powers and give his powers to her. But if she had this candle, why did she wait all the way from Green with Evil to now to use it? You know what I'm saying? Like, why is now the time? As compared to, you've been letting him just use the powers all willy-nilly, and now you're going to use the green candle? But it's still cool that she's pulling out the stops. And we get a little snippet of Zach trying to ask out Angela with very intricate dance moves. She turns him down, as she always does, which never really says why she turns him down. Like, I mean, I guess because he's a little confident. I don't know, but like she's always just like, no, ooh, loser. And you're like, is he really a loser though? Because they seem pretty popular in the grand scheme of it, but whatever. It's not like it's Bulk and Skull. And then Bulk is taunting the boys, and he puts like his head in his jacket. He's like, roses are red, violets are blue. No girl's ever going to go out with you. And then as he does that, he can't get out of his jacket again. So he gets stuck in his jacket. And there's a little snippet of that. If you hear a little growls in the background, my dog is, I don't know if she's playing with a toy or just rolling around on the ground. Yeah, she's playing with a toy. So she's having a good time over there. So if you hear any growls, that's what's going on. There's a Pomeranian chin just rolling around on the ground with a stuffed dog. So Tommy goes to ask him to the dance. But before that can happen, putties show up and they start fighting. And then there's some pretty decent fighting from both Amy Jo Johnson and Jason David Frank. Like Kimberly does a lot of cartwheel kicks and things like that, and JDF does his spin kicks, but he has some nice like flips and stuff too. Like this is some of the better fight choreography we've seen so far, at least out of suits with the putties. But Goldar arrives. Tommy is kidnapped, and the date is left unasked. And basically, Goldar's like, you're either gonna serve Rita or lose your powers. How ironic. And then Rita's like, oh, by the way, I'm unleashing this Cyclops monster. Which, is this kind of like a white jumpsuit with an eye on it. It's pretty low-key design-wise, but we'll talk about what it does, and it's actually pretty useful. So Tommy is fighting Goldar in the prison where, Jason was fighting him earlier, and Goldar's taunting him and doing all the stuff that he did to Jason. Everyone else goes to the command center, gets all the exposition, and then they see the Dragon Zord is damaging the city. And they're like, how's the Dragon Zord doing this? I thought we had control of it. Well, turns out it's an imposter? That the Cyclops monster can take form of the Zords and be just as effective as the Zords? If so, why had they not used this monster yet? Like, that is a very useful monster. So they morph into action. Goldar goes to fight him. Whoops Jason pretty good. And they're just overwhelmed because they got Goldar, Putties, and the loose Zord. So, like, and this is what I've said earlier, like, why doesn't Rita just send out a bunch of shit? Okay, in here, she's sending out a bunch of shit. Like, she's actually, in the past few episodes, besides a couple of one-offs here and there, been fairly smart with how she's sending out villains, right? Still not, a victory combo, but she's doing, she's learning. So they get the Dinozords and the Megazord, but the Dragon Zord imposter is really strong, and they can't just use the Megazord. And Goldar leaves the fight to go taunt Tommy some more because why not? That's a total villain thing to do. Like, let me walk away from this thing we're clearly going to win, and instead of watching over this, I'm going to go and like, ha ha ha, you fucking idiot. I don't know why I went for a Borat voice there. I don't know why that, like, wouldn't that be hilarious if Goldar's voice was Borat? Ha ha, Green Ranger, you lost your powers. Rita's plan is very nice. It's a great success. I'm sorry for those of you who had to listen to that. I know that was probably pretty difficult. Tommy actually ends up in a scuffle with Goldar, taking his sword, which I'm like, wow, that makes him look fucking badass. And then taps the sword and escapes the fucking prison place, So he actually one-upped Jason there. Like, I got one over on Goldar and escaped Rita's prison, which I'm sure no one else has done by this point. So Tommy just looking super badass. He morphs into action, sends his Dragon Zord. So now we got 2 motherfucking Dragon Zords and a Megazord. So we got a 3-way Zord fight. And I'm just like, yes, that's the shit I want to see. Like, that's so cool. Again, when you're trying to sell why people should watch Power Rangers, and you have things like Mr. Tickle Sneezer and Chunky Chicken and the karate scientist. A little hard to sell the show, right? But when you get shit like this, we got 2 Mechagodzilla, giant mechas and a regular mecha all fighting each other. Like, that's pretty fucking badass. That's a way to sell the show to people. All right? You like robots fighting it out? Fucking there it is, right? Dragon Zord gets one over on Cyclops. The Cyclops is knocked out of his Dragon Zord form. And I'm like, again, why did we wait for this plan? This is such a good plan. And things look really bad for Tommy as we end that episode, got to end it on a cliffhanger, got to get people to watch there. So it's like, are the Rangers going to get defeated? Will Tommy lose his powers? I don't know why the fuck I did that voice for that. But so that brings us to episode 35, Green Candle Part 2. The epic conclusion to the Green Candle saga. So they got to get the candle to save Tommy before it burns out. Jason's like, well, I've been in the dimension before. I'll go get it. And Tommy's like, no, Jason, don't. And, Tommy's conflicted because he has to sit by and let shit happen here. Because if he goes back there and gets captured, he's screwed. So Cyclops is going to impersonate the Megazord because somehow that's different than what it was doing last time. I don't know. But basically, the other Rangers have to make a way for Jason to get into Rita's prison. So they got these, like, 2 plastic tube props that are supposed to be something Billy made to get to the dimension. It looks a little plasticky, but at the same time, it looks better than the giant Megazord hand. It looks like they spent a little more money on this. So they're going to a park to set that up. And Bulk and Skull are trying to spy on them. And Bulk decides he wants to mess with basically, he's going to try to fucking ruin get Jason in the dimension plan. And so he runs at it, and they just sidestep him, and he goes into a trash can, and the trash can rolls down that big hill that they climbed up. Why is he always just charging things head on? Like, you think he learned after the first few, like, yeah, they're just going to sidestep me. I should definitely have another plan. But good comedy ensued there, Then the Cyclops shows up in battle mode. So I guess it could go into other Zords forms. And I'm like, in that case, why doesn't it just disguise itself as the Ultra Zord? Because that's really fucking powerful. You can do a lot more damage with the Ultra Zord. But, can't have the villain win. So Tommy wants to fight. He's like, since the other Rangers are dealing with their shit, let me go fight Cyclops alone because he's a badass. Seymour's in action, sends out the Dragon Zord, beats up Cyclops, and it changes to the Megazord, which I don't know why battle mode and the Megas, like, I don't know what the transition was there. Like, they're both about the same level of power. But it changes to the Megazord. But still, the Dragon Zord is just whooping ass because Tommy is fucking awesome. But the Megazord Cyclops does a, like, jumping bicycle kick. Never seen the actual Megazord do that, so it was a little weird to see this, fake Megazord do it. And then he changes back into Cyclops form, shoots an I-beam, which I didn't know his regular form had powers. And then changes to the Tyrannozord. But I'm like, why would you change to the Tyrannozord? That's just one Zord. Like, the Megazord is 5 Zords conglomerated together for ultimate power. Hence, Mega Zord. Or the Ultra Zord is fucking 6 Zords combined with a big-ass Zord for one giant, amazing, Ultra Zord. But the Tyrannozord, I guess he thought was a good way to do this. So he turns into the Tyrannozord, which again, bit of a downgrade, and gets his ass whooped by Tommy some more. They open the portal. Jason goes in. But like as soon as they go in, Zordon's like, hey, we probably shouldn't have let Tommy go on his own. But I'm like, he's not doing a terrible job. He's actually winning. Why don't we just let him duke it out for a while? At least give Jason... So he just stepped through the fucking portal, and now you want us to call him back in? Like, what the fuck, Zordon? So Zach goes in to get him, and Jason's fighting Goldar, having a little bit of a hard time, but reluctantly goes back with Zach. And they morph into action, call on the Ultra Zord, quickly defeat Cyclops, which is another thing I'm like... If you knew the Ultra Zord was just going to immediately fuck up this guy's day, why didn't you just call the Zords, have Tommy do that? Why do we need the other Rangers there to call their Zords? Like, why can't Zordon be like, all right, I'm sending all the Zords, make Ultra Zord? because Jason put the Tyrannozord in manual mode in that one episode. So he could put the fucking Dragonzord in manual mode, hop in and make these fucking, it'll take him a minute. But, the bad guy always gives you time to change. And he'll fucking put them all together, make Ultrazord, and fucking kill him there. Like, why has that not happened? Why do we always need everyone there? Jason probably could have got the green candle if we just gave him 5 fucking minutes. Like, yes, they beat the villain, but they lost the green candle. The whole point of why we're doing this. It was a bit upsetting to see them go out that way, So the candle burns out. And Tommy must give up his power coin to one of the Rangers to avoid Rita getting the powers. So he gives it to Jason. So his power shield, the gold shield on his costume, transfers to Jason. And Jason gets the Dragon Dagger and control of the Dragonzord. And Tommy demorphs. And Zordon's basically like, hey, thanks for all the fucking help. But, you're not a Ranger anymore. And Tommy's like, I hope this doesn't change anything. And they do that like, we're friends in the end. Not like Chucky, but we're friends in the end. And then Kim and Tommy, they share a kiss. And he asks her to the dance. And they do like, he picks her up and spins like it's fucking Dirty Dancing. And we go to the credits there. So Tommy has officially lost his Green Ranger powers. And Rita got one over on the Rangers. And that brings us to episode 36, the final episode we'll be talking about in this installment of the podcast. Birds of a Feather. So Zach has an apprentice because they have like 1,000 students. Like they could start a fucking chain with the amount of people that they have. Like, and again, it's always a different class. Like Zach had a hip-hop keto class, but now he's just doing a normal karate class with hip-hop dancing moves. But like Jason has a class, and I think Tommy had a class. It's like, how many classes are at Ernie's? And there's a karate tournament happening at Ernie's too. There's so much shit happening there. But he has an apprentice named Cameron. Cameron a little loosey-goosey on the work. But Bulk and Skull have also got themselves a protege. Don't know where they found this kid. But his name's Biff. Not Tannen, but Biff. And he's got the denim. He's got the gelled hair. He looks like a douchebag. And he looks really good with all of his punching and kicking techniques. And just as, Cameron's like, oh, you're going to be here for me, Zach? Zach's like, yeah, dude, I'm here for you. Zordon calls, and he's like, shit. I'll be here for you next time. Promise. Good luck. That poor kid, he has no way of knowing, that Zach's a Power Ranger, and just thinks like, oh, man, no one cares about me. So they learn that Rita has a monster called the Hatchosaurus, which is like a giant vulture with like a Venus flytrap thing on its back. It looks pretty decent. And within the Hatchosaurus is its heart system called the Cardiotron. So it's a heart kaiju. And so I count them as 2 kaijus because they have to destroy both the Hatchosaurus and the Cardiotron. Therefore, I count them as 2 separate monsters. And also, we see the Cardiotron later in its form, and it's like a giant heart with tentacles and shit. It's fucking badass. So they must disconnect Cardiotron to destroy Hatchosaurus. Zordon makes that very abundantly clear, but apparently no one listened to the exposition machine. So they morph into action, call the Dinozord. Jason calls the Dragonzord. The Dragonzord holds Hatchosaurus. They blast it. It blows up. And they're like, yeah, we won. And Zordon's like, told you had to destroy the Cardiotron. So, and then they see it quickly regenerate. And they're like, fuck, our bad. We didn't listen. And then Rita casts a spell that completely weakens the Dragonzord to where it can't move. And I'm like, also, if that was a thing you could have done this whole time, and you just let Tommy wield that fucking Dragonzord, and everybody else use it this whole time, why now? Why did you choose now? It's like, oh, I also have this other thing they didn't know about that's super useful. So they morph back in action. The Hatchosaurus now is good at fighting Zords. And the Dragon Zord's weak, and it can walk, but it's going to take it a long time to get to the battlefield. So they call it a Power Sword, which I've missed. I missed the Power Sword. And then the Hatchosaurus picks up the Megazord by its ass. Like, there's no other real way to say that looks. Like, it leans over, like, wraps its hands, like, cups the... it's a robot, but cups the metal cheeks and picks it up by its asshole. Like a reverse Lion King. Like if Rafiki had Simba facing him. That's what this shit looked like, okay? But like ass. Like, picked it up by its ass. It looked really fucking weird. But it does that, and then throws it. But again, it was like, why'd you pick it up by the ass? Like, why didn't you pick it up by, like, the midsection or the arms? Because it's got, the Megazord is this huge robot, but it's got a very small waist. It's very slender. So why'd you go for the most slender part of the body and grab its ass? It was a little fucking weird. So they go for the Power Slash. They blow him up again. But again, you had to destroy Cardiatron. So it regenerates again. And Jason's like, oh, okay, I'm going to go inside of it. So he jumps inside of its mouth. And then we see the Cardiatron, which is like a little circular heart with all these tentacles. And, you know, if this was an anime, that could have gone really rapey. But it didn't because it's Power Rangers. So Jason's fighting the Cardiatron, but kind of losing. Then he turns on the Dragon Shield and manages to break the Dragon Zord free. And it fucks up Hatchosaurus and managed to separate Hatchosaurus from Cardiatron. Didn't know that was really possible, but that's what they do. And then Jason's dual wielding. He's got the Power Sword in one hand, the Dragon Dagger in the other hand. Both are like glowing with green and red power. He looks like a fucking amazing Jedi. And he slashes and destroys Cardiatron like a boss. So now Hatchosaurus completely wide open. They call upon the Ultra Zord, blow that bitch up, boom. Day is saved. We didn't even need Tommy. And they come back right on time for Cameron's match against Biff Tannen. I mean Biff. And Biff is pretty tough, but Cameron does a sweep the leg maneuver. I was like, oh shit, this really is turning into Karate Kid. Sweeps the leg. And then just does these Steven Seagal throws. Like, as we know, Steven Seagal has this form of martial arts that's essentially just lackadaisically throwing someone over your shoulder. He does that. I'm like, man, Steven Seagal would have a raging boner watching this right now because he would just, yeah, you toss him, and you toss that guy. You toss him over your shoulder. You toss him again. That's essentially what he's doing here. And he gets the win off of one sweeping the leg and two Steven Seagal throws. And then... So Cameron wins. He's happy, and then Bulk's like, "Why didn't you kick him in the shin?" And Biff's like, "I need a new manager." And I'm like, "As you would, because Bulk and Skull know nothing about fighting." But again, the comedy does not come really from them being complete douche nozzles. It comes and getting like beat up. The comedy comes from them being just genuinely goofy. And with that ends this installment of the podcast. Stay tuned next time when we cover episodes. Damn, I think we're going to go 37 to 42 next time. And I know these podcasts have gotten a little bit shorter. We haven't had a big bulk of things to talk about. The episodes have been a little thinner on some ends of it. But, we'll have some interesting things coming up. And so, again, we're going to do up to episode 42 next podcast. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. And I appreciate all the support I've been getting lately. It's been really great to be going down this podcasting journey with you all. Also, don't forget, most importantly, stay safe, stay nerdy. I'm Mac Taylor. Until next time.